YouTube, but it's good. We are back for another episode of Marv's Room. And I wanted to jump on here, man, and talk to you guys. But first, let me tell you guys, thank you. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for joining me on my journey. I love each and every one of you, wherever you're at in the world. Thank you for believing in me and this experience of what I've been doing and helping people change their lives, change their situations, etc., etc. I'm extremely humbled to be doing this. It takes courage to do this, to put yourself in these vulnerable situations and to tell people your story in a sense. But it's been very healing and very therapeutic to me, and I want to thank all of you guys, and I love each and every one of you for following me on my journey and like I said, just rocking with me and sticking with me. So now, on to the video. I wanted to make this video today to talk to you guys, to help you guys give up this idea that happiness is somewhere else. Because until you give up the idea that happiness is in the next relationship, happiness is in, getting the perfect job, getting the perfect house, etc., etc. Happiness is in marriage. So many people think that once they get married, all of their problems are going to be solved. Their happiness is going to be eternal. So many people think that, oh, maybe if I have kids, my happiness is going to be eternal. And so many people find out the rude awakening that they have is that's not the case. That's never the answer, because you think happiness is over there. You think happiness and love, etc., is outside of yourself. You need these things. You're looking for these things to validate your existence. You are looking for these things to validate your being. And what happens is, once you get those things, you realize, man, I'm still not happy. And especially with relationships in marriage and people having children, these things are really the kicker that I want to talk to you guys today about, because I remember hearing Teal Swan, she mentioned something like this in one of her videos, so I encourage you guys to check it out. But she basically was saying people don't understand, most adults don't even understand and know why they're having children. They don't know. They have no idea. They think that it's going to help validate them. They need it to validate them. Or they think it's like going to help strengthen. They think having children is going to help strengthen their relationship with their partner, whoever their husband is, or whoever if they're not married, whoever they, or the same thing with marriage. They think getting married is going to validate them, help strengthen their relationship, give them purpose in the world. But it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And the thing is if they're honest with themselves and they look deep inside themselves and they're truthful, they will realize and know that the real reason behind why they want to get married or why they want to have kids is extremely selfish. But they will never admit that to themselves, because we already know how powerful the ego is. And the ego hates being wrong. The ego hates being exposed. And that's why there's a constant tug of war between your mind and your heart, because your mind is basically ego and your heart is basically spirit. That's why your heart is so much more powerful than your mind is. Your heart is 100 times more electric than your mind is. Your heart is up to 5,000 times more magnetic than your mind is. Your heart is way more powerful than your mind is. And that's the problem, is people make ego-based decisions instead of heart-based decisions. And that's one of the things that most people don't realize when it comes to decision making, when it comes to having children or getting married. It's not really your higher self that's making that decision. It's your ego. Your ego wants that to feel fulfilled. But it's an unfulfillment ultimately in the end, because you can't fill that void. That void is not going to be filled once you get married. That void is not going to be filled once you have children, because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Again, you're looking outside of yourself for something that's already inside of yourself. And what Teal Swan liked to call it, she called it the doll syndrome. And this is why so many people have dysfunctional relationships, is because she had mentioned people, for instance, think about a child. a little child. Let's take a 5-6-year-old kid playing with a doll. When you play with a doll, usually you play with that doll because you want that doll to match you. You want that doll to be your source of happiness whenever you want that doll to be your source of happiness. You want to dress that doll up just how you're dressed when you want to. You want to give that doll all of your love and attention and affection. But guess what happens? This can go two ways. You can either give that doll all of your love and affection, or you can be the other kid that neglects the doll. Now, this is what happens when people grow up and get older based on how they were raised, based on the situation with their parents. And she kind of goes into, she goes in more deep into it, but I'm kind of just trying to give you guys a summation in a sense of where she was going with this. Basically, you have this sort of push-pull when you get older in relationships, because either you were neglected, or you were neglected like the one child with the doll, or you conformed to the way you wanted your parent, you conformed to the way that you thought your parent wanted you to conform. So now you really don't have any identity, because you can't behave and act the way you really wanted to behave and act, because you think that your parent is gonna get upset at you because you didn't behave and act a certain way. And this is what happens between so many people, is they see this and they think to themselves, oh, if I don't do a certain, they're raised with the sense. Again, think of this in an idea of two different people playing with two different dolls. Okay, person number one playing with the dolls, they are developing this mentality of, my doll is going to behave the way I want it to behave. It's going to wear what I want it to wear. It's going to act the way I want it to act. Okay. Doll number two, person number two that plays with the doll, they just completely ignore the doll. And this is the same thing that happens with parents. This is the same way this is the same way a lot of parents treat their children, and why their children grow up and can't be in dysfunctional or in dysfunctional relationships is because either A, their parents were trying to control the kid to do what they wanted them to do, instead of just letting the kid, be free, be happy, be joyous, all of those things, which is what children are. They try to conform the kid to be the way that they want them to be, and in turn the kid kind of grows up and they hate it. They don't like the way that they were formed, and they only did it just to please the parents. Then you have the parents in the world where they completely just neglect their kids. And so basically what Teal Swan was saying and getting at is parents, they end up growing up treating their children like dolls. You have kids. The only reason a lot of people have kids is because for their pleasure, for their entertainment, for them to be able to view and use the kids how they want to. Meaning they don't have children for the right reasons. And this is why so many people, so many households, etc., so many children are messed up in the head and can't have healthy relationships, is because they're living with this doll syndrome. They're living with this doll syndrome because their parents had them for the wrong reason. Their parents had them to be able to say, okay, when I want to play with you, I'll play with you. But when I don't want to play with you, I'm going to put you in a corner, just like I did that doll when I was 4 or 5 years old. And people have no idea how much that damages a child's confidence, how much it damages a child's mind. Because like I told you guys before in one of my other videos, the subconscious mind in a child is from the time that child is born up until their early adolescent years of basically 12 years old, 13 years old, they're constantly in an adolescent state. Their subconscious mind is picking up everything. And this is why so many people suffer in relationships, is because this doll syndrome. And this is why it's so important to have children for the right reasons, so that children can actually grow up and have healthy, sustainable relationships. Having children just to say you want to be able to use them and have them and do whatever you want to do with them on your own term, that's extremely selfish. And that's why so many people fail. That's why so many people have bad relationships with their kids. And it's no different than marriages. It's no different. People get married and they think that they can manipulate the relationship to make them happy, to make their partner happy. You know, they think that that's going to bring them happiness, but it's not, because you're lying to yourself. You're lying about the reasons why you want to get married. You're lying to yourself about the reasons why you want to have kids. And it's extremely dangerous. These things will not work and will destroy your relationship in the long run. Having children, getting married, etc., because you can use this with a myriad of topics, it's not the answer. So many people think that this stuff is going to solve their problems, but it's not. I want you guys to start being smart with the decisions you're making and understand that you're not just hurting yourself. You're hurting another person. And you're hurting a little infant child that you have that's growing up that could potentially be hurt because you chose to never deal with your pains and your traumas. This stuff goes deep, man. This stuff goes extremely deep. And that's why I wanted to jump on here today to talk to you guys and let you guys know that these things aren't the answer to having a healthy relationship or having a perfect marriage or whatever the case is. Happiness and love, understand, it starts with you. It's inside of you. It's not over there. It's not over here. It's not over, it's inside of you. Stop looking for happiness. Stop looking for love, etc. outside of yourself. Because that's why so many people suffer. So I just wanted to jump on here today, man, and tell you guys this. Don't think that marriage is going to be the answer to all your problems. Don't think that having children is going to be the answer to all your problems. Don't think that getting the right house is going to be the answer to all your problems. Don't think that, having a certain amount of money, having a perfect job, living in the right state. Like, happiness isn't over there. Happiness is right here. It's inside of you. Up here and here. All right, guys. I'm going to jump on here, share this message with you guys again. It's been another episode of Marvin's Room. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys next time. You know where, you know when.